Right now, as you rewatching this, a massive winter storm is barreling toward the central and eastern United States. And I am not talking about next week or next month. I am talking about this Friday, January 23rd, 5 days from now. The question isn't if this storm will hit. The question is, are you in its path? Here's what makes this storm different. It's not just snow. It's not just ice. It's both. And it's happening across a region that stretches from Texas all the way to the Carolinas. We re-looking at central Texas, seeing freezing rain, northern Louisiana buried under ice, Arkansas getting pounded with a wintry mix, and Tennessee facing heavy snow accumulations. But here's the reward I promised you in the first 30 seconds. Stay with me because at the 5-minute mark, I am going to show you exactly which cities are in the bullseye for the worst conditions. And I'll tell you the one thing meteorologists are watching that could shift this entire storm 100 miles north or south. That shift means the difference between a dusting and a disaster. Let me give you some hard numbers. The European weather model, one of the most reliable forecasting tools we have, is showing this storm beginning Friday morning. By Friday midday, Arctic air is already pouring down into the middle of the country. Temperatures across the plains dropping into the teens. That's single digits Fahrenheit for many areas. And when that cold air collides with moisture streaming up from the Gulf of Mexico, that's when things get dangerous. Here's a number that should wake you up. Northern Texas could see ice accumulations of up to 1 inch. 1 full inch of ice coating power lines, tree branches, and roads. Do you know what 1 inch of ice does? It snaps power lines like toothpicks. Trees that have stood for decades come crashing down. Roads become skating rinks. Now you might be thinking this is just a Texas problem. Wrong. By Friday night, this storm expands. Central Arkansas is looking at heavy freezing rain. Southern Oklahoma faces the same threat. And here's the kicker. Some areas are going to see this freezing rain switch to heavy snow as colder air works its way into the upper atmosphere. Comment below right now and tell me what city or state you are in. I want to give you a personalized forecast for your exact location. Don T. Wait. Drop your location in the comments. Let us talk about the overnight Friday into Saturday timeline. This is when the storm reaches its peak intensity. The Texas Panhandle, 6 to 12 inches of snow. Oklahoma City could see 8 to 10 inches. Northern Arkansas, the models are showing 10 to 14 inches in some spots, and this isn't light, fluffy snow. This is heavy, wet snow that weighs down everything it touches. But remember that ice storm I mentioned? It's still happening at the same time farther south. Central to southern Arkansas is in the ice zone. Northern Louisiana, too. We're talking about a corridor of freezing rain that could stretch 300 miles long and 100 miles wide. Let me give you a visual. Imagine a line from Dallas, Texas, stretching northeast through Little Rock, Arkansas, and into Memphis, Tennessee. Everything along that line and south of it, that's the ice storm zone. Everything north of that line, heavy snow. And the exact position of that line, that's what we were trying to nail down this week. Here is something critical. The storm isn't quick. This isn't a clipper system that moves through in 6 hours. We re-looking at a long duration event, Friday morning through Saturday night. That's 36 hours of continuous winter weather. Some areas could see precipitation for the entire duration. Now let me explain why this storm is so hard to forecast. And this is important because you need to understand what could change. There's a battle happening in the atmosphere between two air masses. You've got cold Arctic air trying to push south, and you've got warm, moist air from the Gulf trying to push north. Where those two meet, that's where the nastiest weather happens. The cold air is what meteorologists call shallow Arctic air. It's not deep. It's sitting right at the surface, maybe a few thousand feet up. Above it, warmer air. Way warmer. We are talking about temperatures at 5,000 feet that could be in the 40s or even 50s Fahrenheit. But at ground level, 25 degrees. So here's what happens. Snow forms up in the clouds. As it falls, it passes through that warm layer of air and melts into rain. But then it keeps falling and it hits that shallow layer of freezing air at the surface. Instantly it refreezes. That's freezing rain. And it sets the most dangerous type of winter precipitation we can get. The latest runs from multiple weather models are in agreement on one thing. This storm is happening. The European model shows it. The American GFS model shows it. Even the Canadian model shows it. They differ on the details, on the exact track, on the exact amounts. But they all show a significant winter storm. Here's a data point that might surprise you. The GFS model, that S, the American model, is actually showing winter weather as far south as Houston, Texas. Houston, a city that sees freezing temperatures maybe a few times a year. The model has freezing rain showing up there by Saturday morning. Now, I am not saying Houston is definitely going to see an ice storm. Models can be wrong, especially this far south, but the fact that it's even showing up on the model, that tells you how powerful this cold air push is going to be. Let's talk about Saturday morning, the 24th. This is when the storm is in full force. Central Texas is dealing with ice. Northern Texas has transitioned to snow. Oklahoma is buried. Arkansas is getting hammered. And now the storm is spreading into Tennessee and Missouri. Nashville could see 6 to 10 inches of snow. Memphis is in a tricky spot because it's right on that line between ice and snow. St. Louis might catch the northern edge of this system with 4 to 8 inches. And all of this is happening simultaneously. Here's the question everyone wants answered. Will this storm affect the eastern United States too? The short answer is yes, but it's complicated. And this is where we get to that detail I promised you at the 5-minute mark. There are 2 scenarios playing out in the models. Scenario 1, the storm tracks farther south and east. In this case, the Carolinas, Georgia, even parts of Virginia could see significant winter weather. We're talking about heavy snow for the mountains, ice for the Piedmont, maybe even some coastal impacts. Scenario 2, the storm stays more westward. The cold air still filters into the east, but the moisture stays farther west. In this case, the eastern states get cold temperatures and maybe some light snow, but nothing major. Which scenario is more likely? Right now, the models are leaning towards scenario 1, the storm moving east. But here is the detail that could change everything, the position of a high-pressure system over Canada. This high pressure is pumping cold Arctic air down into the United States. If that high is stronger than forecast, it pushes farther south, and the whole storm shifts south. More ice, less snow, and areas like Atlanta could be in play. If that high is weaker, everything shifts north. More snow, less ice, and the storm might track through Kentucky and West Virginia instead of Tennessee and North Carolina. We wouldn't know for sure until Wednesday or Thursday. That's when the short-range models come into better view, but you need to start preparing now. Let me give you some preparation tips. If you are in the potential ice zone, Central Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, charge your devices. Fill up your gas tank. Get extra batteries. Ice storms knock out power, sometimes for days, and when the power goes out in 20-degree weather, that's life-threatening. If you are in the snow zone, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, northern Arkansas, stock up on groceries. Plan on driving for 36 hours. Have extra blankets. Have a backup heat source if possible. And check on your neighbors, especially elderly neighbors who might need help. Here is a number that matters. The Climate Prediction Center, that is the official U.S. government forecasting agency, has issued a 9 to 10-day outlook showing below normal temperatures across the entire central and eastern United States. That's not just for this storm. That's for the week and a half after the storm too. What does that mean? It means even after this storm passes, we are staying in the freezer. Any snow or ice that falls is going to stick around. Roads might not fully clear for days in some areas. Now let's talk about the extended forecast because this might not be the only storm, and this is something I need you to understand. We re-entering a pattern that meteorologists love and most people hate. It's called an active winter pattern. There is something called the Madden-Julian oscillation. Don't worry about what it's called. Just know this. It is a tropical weather pattern that influences weather worldwide. Right now, it is moving into phases 7 and 8, and historically phases 7 and 8 during winter, they favor cold and stormy weather in the United States. What that means in plain English, after this storm passes, don't put away your snow shovel. There could be more storms coming. Late January into early February looks active. We could see multiple systems, multiple chances for winter weather. Here today, weather across the country. Cold air is already in place across the northern states. Temperatures this morning in the northern plains, below zero. That's -10, -15 in some spots. That cold air is going to slide south over the next few days, setting the stage for this storm. There's some lake effect snow happening right now across the Great Lakes region. Buffalo, New York could pick up 6 to 12 inches from lake effect through Wednesday. The Tug Hill Plateau in upstate New York, maybe 18 to 24 inches. That's before the main storm even arrives. Michigan's Lower Peninsula is seeing several inches of snow today and tomorrow. Not a major storm, just a clipper system, but it's adding to the snowpack that's already on the ground. Wisconsin, same story. A few inches here, a few inches there. It adds up. The western United States is quiet today. If you're in California, Nevada, Arizona, enjoy the calm weather. You are not part of this storm system. But the cold air that's setting this up, some of it is originating from the Pacific Northwest and dropping southeast. So even though you are not getting the storm, you are getting chillier than normal temperatures. Let me bring this back to the main event. Friday through Saturday, Central U.S. winter storm. This is a high confidence forecast, meaning we know it's going to happen. What we are fine-tuning is the exact track, the exact amounts, and who gets snow versus who gets ice. Every model run we see brings us closer to the answer. This morning's European model run, still showing the storm, still showing ice in Texas, still showing heavy snow across Oklahoma and Arkansas. The 6Z run, the 6 a.m. model run, same thing, consistent. The GFS model is a little different. It loves to show sleet, ice pellets instead of freezing rain. So on the GFS, you see more orange on the map instead of pink. Orange is sleet, pink is freezing rain. But either way, it's frozen precipitation that's going to cause problems. Here is something about sleet versus freezing rain. Sleet bounces. It accumulates like snow. It can pile up inches deep and make roads impassable, but it doesn't stick to power lines and trees the same way. Freezing rain, that coats everything. It builds up layer by layer. A quarter inch of ice can snap tree limbs. Half an inch can bring down power lines. A full inch? Catastrophic damage. The reason this forecast is so difficult is because the difference between sleet and freezing rain comes down to a few degrees in the atmosphere. A few degrees, that's it. If the warm layer aloft is a little deeper, you get freezing rain. If it's a little shallower, you get sleet. And we want to know for sure until the storm is almost here. But here's what we do know. Regardless of whether it's sleet or freezing rain, travel is going to be impossible in the ice zone. Don T tried to drive in it. I've been watching winter weather for years, and ice storms are the most dangerous, more dangerous than blizzards. Because at least in a blizzard, you can see the snow piling up. With ice, it looks clear until you step outside and your feet go out from under you. Saturday afternoon, this storm is still going strong. The snow has spread northeast into Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. The ice storm continues across the southern states. And in some areas, we are looking at a transition zone where ice changes to snow as colder air finally wins the battle and pushes south. By Saturday night into Sunday morning, the storm begins to wind down in the western areas, but the eastern areas are just getting started. If this storm tracks eastward like some models suggest, Saturday night could bring heavy snow to the Appalachian Mountains, the North Carolina Mountains, the Virginia Mountains, eastern Tennessee, eastern Kentucky. We read talking about 1 to 2 feet of snow in the highest elevations. Sunday morning, most of the precipitation has ended in Texas and Oklahoma, but Arkansas, Tennessee, and states farther east are still dealing with it. And here's a concerning detail. Even as late as Sunday morning, some models still show freezing rain popping up again in deep Texas. This thing is persistent. Let me give you the temperature forecast for Saturday. Columbia, South Carolina could be at 26 degrees. Charlotte, North Carolina, 19 degrees. But the precipitation showing up on the models there? Freezing rain. How do you get freezing rain at 19 degrees? Because it's not rain freezing when it hits the ground. It's rain that's already super cooled, already below freezing, just waiting for something to freeze on contact with. That's why it's so dangerous. Now, not everyone believes these temperature forecasts. Some meteorologists think the models are running too cold. If that's true and temperatures are a few degrees warmer than forecast, suddenly some of these areas that are supposed to get ice might just get cold rain instead. That would be a best-case scenario for them. But we can bet on that. We have to prepare for what the models are showing. I want to emphasize this. All the signals are pointing toward this storm happening. The Climate Prediction Center is forecasting cold temperatures. They reforecasting above normal precipitation. Cold plus moisture in late January equals winter storms. The Madden-Julian oscillation is in a favorable phase. All the pieces are falling into place. This isn't a case where we are seeing one rogue model showing a storm and everything else is quiet. This is every model, every forecast tool, every indicator saying the same thing. Winter storm. Late this week. Central U.S., potentially eastern U.S. too. If you live anywhere from Texas, Northeast to the Carolinas, you need to be paying attention. Check back for updates. This forecast is going to evolve every single day this week. By Wednesday, we'll have a much clearer picture. By Thursday, we'll know exactly where the worst conditions will be. For tonight and tomorrow, the weather is quiet in most areas. Tuesday is quiet too. Wednesday might see a few snow showers across the northern states, but nothing major. And then Thursday, you'll start to feel the temperature drop, really drop. And by Friday morning, the storm begins. Here's what I want you to do. First, comment below with your location so I can give you specific information. Second, make a plan. Know where your flashlights are, know where your candles are. Make sure you have food that doesn't need to be cooked in case the power goes out. Third, fill up your gas tank by Thursday. Don't wait until Friday morning when everyone else is trying to do the same thing. If you have elderly family members or neighbors, check on them. Make sure they have heat, make sure they have food, make sure they know the storm is coming. Winter storms are hardest on the most vulnerable people in our communities. Don't panic. Panic doesn't help anyone, but do prepare. There's a big difference. Panic is running to the store and buying everything in sight. Preparation is calmly getting the things you need over the next few days. This storm is not going to destroy the country, but it is going to cause problems. Power outages, dangerous roads, school closings, business closings, especially in areas that don't usually see winter weather. When ice storms hit the south, the impact is magnified because the infrastructure isn't built for it. Power lines aren't built to handle ice weight. Road crews don't have hundreds of salt trucks sitting around. People don't have snow tires on their cars. That's why a storm that might be routine in Minnesota becomes a major disaster in Mississippi. It's not about being tough or prepared. It's about infrastructure and experience. And when ice falls in places that rarely see it, the impact is severe. I want to come back to that eastward expansion question because it is critical for millions of people. Right now, the models show this storm potentially affecting the Carolinas, Georgia, Virginia, and maybe even into the mid-Atlantic states. But the timing is later, Saturday night into Sunday for most of those areas. The scenario looks like this. A cold, high-pressure system sets up across the northeast. It funnels cold air southward along the Appalachian Mountains. That shallow cold air gets trapped east of the mountains. Then the storm's moisture moves northeast and overruns that cold air. You end up with classic cold air damming. That is a meteorological term for when cold air gets stuck in place and warmer air tries to ride up over the top of it. When you get cold air damming, you get ice, freezing rain, because that cold air at the surface is shallow, maybe only a few thousand feet deep. Above it, warmer air, and that's the perfect setup for freezing rain. The Carolinas and Georgia see this setup a few times a decade, and when it happens, it cripples the region. Raleigh, Charlotte, Greenville, Columbia, Atlanta. These cities could all be in play if the cold air damming setup verifies, and the models are definitely showing it as a possibility. Not a certainty yet, but a strong possibility. Here is a timeline for the eastern states. Thursday night into Friday, temperatures drop. Friday night, clouds increase. Saturday morning, precipitation begins, probably starting as rain or sleet. Saturday afternoon, transitions to freezing rain or snow depending on location. Saturday night, heaviest precipitation. Sunday morning, tapering off. The dividing line between snow and ice in the east is going to be elevation. Higher elevations, the mountains, they'll get snow. Lots of it, potentially 1 to 2 feet. Lower elevations, the valleys and Piedmont, they in the ice zone. And the coast might stay warm enough for just cold rain, but that still 3 to 4 days out. Too far to be specific. What I can tell you is that if you live in the Carolinas, Georgia, or Virginia, you should be watching this closely. Have a plan, be ready. Let's talk about what happens after the storm. The cold air doesn't leave. That is important. The Climate Prediction Center's outlook shows below normal temperatures continuing through the end of January and into early February. So even after the storm passes, temperatures stay cold. Any snow or ice that falls is going to linger. Roads in shaded areas might stay icy for days. And like I mentioned earlier, this might not be the only storm. The pattern we are in favors active weather. The jet stream is positioned in a way that allows storms to develop and track across the southern U.S. That's unusual. Normally, the jet stream is farther north in winter. But when it dips south like this, the southern states get the winter weather. I can predict specific storms 2 weeks out. But I can tell you the pattern supports more storminess. So after this Friday system, keep watching. There could be another one the following week and maybe another one after that. This could be an active rest of January today as temperatures show the cold already in place. Northern Montana, -5 for the high. North Dakota, -10. Minnesota, 0. That's the air mass that's going to spread south and east over the next few days. By Friday, that same cold reaches Texas. Right now, Dallas is in the 50s. By Friday morning, Dallas will be in the 20s. That is a 30-degree temperature drop in just a few days. Oklahoma City is similar. 50s today, 20s by Friday. That rapid temperature drop is one of the keys to this storm. Winter weather advisories and warnings are already up across the Great Lakes for lake effect snow. Those will expire by Wednesday, but new warnings will go up Thursday for this main storm. By Thursday afternoon, we'll probably see winter storm watches posted from Texas to Tennessee. By Friday morning, those watches will be upgraded to warnings as the storm begins. One more thing I want to emphasize. The worst time to prepare for a winter storm is after it starts. Once the ice starts falling, it's too late to go to the store. Once the snow starts piling up, it's too late to get extra firewood. The time to prepare is now, today, tomorrow, Wednesday at the latest. If you need to travel, think about your timing. If you have to drive anywhere this weekend, do it Thursday or wait until Monday. Don T, try to drive Friday or Saturday. Even if the roads look clear, they might not be. Black ice is invisible until you hit it. And in a major winter storm like this, emergency responders might not be able to get to you quickly. I am going to end with this. This is a serious storm. It's not hype. It's not exaggeration. Every forecasting tool we have is showing significant winter weather across a large area of the country. The details are still being worked out. The exact track, the exact snowfall amounts, the exact position of the ice line. But the big picture is clear. Winter storm. This Friday, central U.S. and possibly eastern U.S. Check back every day this week for updates. The forecast will get more specific as we get closer. Tomorrow, I'll have updated model runs. Wednesday, we'll start to see the short-range models come into view. Thursday, we'll know exactly where the bullseye is. And Friday morning, the storm begins. Make your plan now. Get your supplies now. Check on your neighbors and stay safe. This is a storm you want to take seriously. Comment below right now with your city and state. Let me know where you're watching from. I want to help you stay informed and prepared. Drop that location in the comments and subscribe for daily updates as this storm approaches. We were going to get through this together, but you need to be ready.